Howdy y'all, I'm Gordon Lee and welcome back to the channel. Transformers 1 is a new movie covering Optimus Prime and Megatron's origins on Cybertron, and ultimately how the two went from brothers to mortal enemies. And right off the bat, I just like this movie based off of its premise alone. It showed us a side of the Transformers that we haven't seen before. I mean, how many more Transformers movies can we really have where they are on Earth, there's a war that breaks out, and humans get caught in the middle? We've seen that 5 or 6 different times. So I liked that they took a different approach with this movie, actually took us to Cybertron. There are no humans there, and it is just a story about the Transformers. I haven't seen any of the animated TV shows before, so this was a brand new story to me, and man, it was a breath of fresh air. And as a result, we got to see a different side of both Optimus Prime and Megatron back whenever they were younger, maybe more optimistic, a little bit less stoic. It gave a new spin on the characters that we haven't seen theatrically before. Optimus Prime isn't this altruistic figure that makes the right decision every single time. He's brash in this movie, he's immature, and he makes mistakes. And then Megatron, he's not totally evil, but throughout the course of the movie, you see gradually how he gets there. And it was actually kind of sad seeing the two interact as brothers in the beginning of the movie, knowing where it's gonna lead. And as the movie goes on, and you see the gears turning in Megatron's head, you're thinking, oh no, this is not gonna end well. This movie is also different from the past Transformers movies because it is 100% animated, which I actually think was the right call for a movie that takes place totally on Cybertron with just the Transformers. One of my biggest griefs with the live action Transformers movies is sometimes the action can get a little disorienting, to say the least. So whenever you're gonna have this many graphics on the screen, I think doing it animated style made a lot of sense. And they did a good job with the animation too. Everything was crisp and clear. One of my concerns going into the movie was, is this going to be any, alien planet? But no, Cybertron had a very distinct feel to it, and all the action was perfectly clear to me. This story was also very intriguing. It felt very personal, because at the end of the day, this is a story about two best friends that become enemies by the end. And yeah, there's a lot of other stuff that goes on that is, to be honest with you guys, quite predictable. There's one specific character where you see him and you're like, you're not a good guy. So while elements of the plot were predictable, I still found myself hooked into the story, bought in on the characters, particularly Optimus Prime and Megatron. And that was the whole goal of this movie, so my hat's off to them. But what are you going to expect? The director of this co-wrote Inside Out and directed Toy Story 4. This was going to have a good story behind it. I thought the voice acting was actually really good as well, particularly Keegan-Michael Key. He is so funny as Bumblebee. I thought he gave a very good lighthearted performance whenever things got a little bit too heavy, because, Optimus Prime and Megatron, they can't be quipping all the time. They need a character that can crack jokes without it feeling too forced, and Keegan-Michael Key did just that with his portrayal of Bumblebee. And then speaking of Optimus Prime, I thought Chris Hemsworth was really good. He didn't do an impression of the original Optimus Prime. He did his own take on it, which I thought was very wise. And having a new voice in there, I think, plays into him being young at this time, still figuring it out, so he doesn't have that really deep, brooding voice quite yet. Now it's time for the jerk score, where we take a look at the percentage of people that either talked or were on their phones during the movie. There were about 35 people in this screening for Transformers 1. No people were on their phone. The guy next to me had me very concerned because he had his phone open all through the trailers, and not only was it open, but the brightness was like all the way up, which I was thinking, dude, that can't be good for your eyes. But to his credit, he put it away at the start of the movie, didn't take it back out, so I was very pleasantly surprised by that. But behind me, there were 3 people talking. 2 of them were kids, and the other person was their dad, so I feel bad giving them a whole score there, but I'm still going to today while I'm figuring it out. So overall, we have 3 people out of 35 for a percentage of 9%. And now my score of the movie, I thought it was enjoyable. It's not the greatest animated movie ever made, but it was a good time. It's definitely worth a watch. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. Predictable at times, but overall, a good ride. And absolutely one of the better Transformers movies, but that isn't exactly a high bar to meet. But what are y'all's thoughts on Transformers 1? Have you had an opportunity to go out and see it? Leave me a comment down below with your thoughts on the movie, and be sure to subscribe if you aren't, if you like this and you want to see more. Bye, y'all.